Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Duffy. I'm the Executive Director for the DeKalb Chamber of Commerce. And thanks for joining us this morning for our DeKalb Chamber's annual State of the City event. This is our 11th annual, and from the past 11 years to this one, this is by far the most unique, as are most things in 2020, done a little bit differently. But we wanted to make sure we got the message across to you about some of the great things that are going on in our community. We've got Dr. Lisa Freeman from NIU, and we've got the Mayor of the City of DeKalb, Jerry Smith, to join us today. We want to thank our sponsors, First Midwest Bank and Northwestern Medicine, for helping us put this on this morning. Again, we're always appreciative of our sponsors and being flexible with us to be creative as we continue to bring these messages to everybody. So I'm going to let you know real quick that if you'd like to submit questions, you can do so in your little question Q&A area there on the bottom of your screen. You can submit them at any time. We'll handle the questions at the end. There will be time for those, so be sure to submit your questions at any time. And we'll have some time at the end to answer those questions as we want to make sure you get a chance to get some of your questions answered. But we appreciate questions and welcome you to put those throughout the course of the program. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here, and we're going to let it get kicked off here by the Mayor of the City of DeKalb, Jerry Smith. Jerry?
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in, and kudos to the Chamber for agreeing to change the format of what formerly was a State of the City breakfast. You know, 2020 has changed a lot of things, this presentation included. Now, both Lisa and I have had our sights set on doing a State of the City. Mine will be presented to Council in early January, and Lisa has already given her State of the University last month. Today, we share in celebrating the fact that the City of DeKalb and Northern Illinois University have a joined at the hip relationship that dates back to the city's founding in 1856 and the establishment of the Northern Illinois State Normal School in 1895. Thus, we're proud to call this morning's presentation the State of the Communiversity. And you'll quickly realize that our remarks will deal with so many things that we've done together and how we both see this collaborative spirit continuing in the days and the years ahead. President Freeman and I will comment on a number of topics that have captured the attention of our community over the past year. Then we should have some time for questions and answers. Matt Duffy will be collecting your questions in the chat function. Now we're going to start with the 5-letter word that is foremost on everyone's mind, COVID. We also plan to provide our views on developments in our community that seem to dominate 2020, social justice and economic growth. So let's get started. You know, it's been said that change is a constant. Gosh, is that ever true with this coronavirus and how it's impacted every man, woman, and child on this planet? Here in DeKalb, we've struggled with keeping our residents safe and healthy while still trying to help our businesses carry on commerce and keep their businesses alive. You know, I don't know if we've succeeded completely on either count, but I can honestly say that it isn't for a lack of trying. Since March of this year, COVID has been at the center of attention in our community. Every day, we're trying to balance the health risks with the economic impacts. Our small businesses are the heart of our community, and they've been hit hard by this pandemic. You know, I'm so impressed with how these businesses have pivoted and making it work under the extreme limitations placed on them. From the get-go, a group got together to see what could be done to help these businesses, and DeKalb County Unites was born, UNITES. And Unites stands for University and Neighbors Investing Together for Economic Success. More than 40 informational webinars were hosted. Information was provided on federal and state relief programs, Posters were distributed urging customers to wear masks and social distance. Well, now, as we draw near the end of a year most of us will never forget, we appear to be close to a vaccine distribution system that will lead us well into the first quarter and second quarter of 2021. Our hope, of course, is that sometime during the coming year that we can put COVID pretty much behind us. Scarred for sure, especially those who have suffered the loss of loved ones. And to those folks, our prayers for peace. You know, it was about midway through the pandemic in late spring and early summer when the killing of George Floyd at the hands of law enforcement officers in Minneapolis occurred. As a result, a national social justice movement arose, which captured our community's attention. It captured our community's compassion and our determination to make DeKalb a more welcoming place in which to work and live. This community talked, and we marched and talked and marched even more throughout the summer. Through many more meetings of the City Council and our Human Relations Commission, we took up the challenge of implementing procedural justice with greater transparency, accountability, with an honest recognition of past and present biases, and most of all, we included conversation and decision-making. Institutional changes are unfolding in our city departments, and we humbly recognize that we have much to learn and we have much to celebrate. To underline our firm commitment to build truth and trust and forbearance, enduring respect and mutual commitment to justice, the City of DeKalb and NIU co-sponsored a virtual conversation with Dr. John Powell, a renowned international expert in African American and ethnic studies. And he was a fierce advocate, he is a fierce advocate of equity and inclusion. This late October event was billed as Belonging. It's inspired ideas and encouraged action that has prioritized the need to appreciate how our differences can become our strength. Institutional change is underway in our police department and is formalized in a variety of procedural changes, along with a reconfiguration of the department's resources. It's becoming a new community support services division. In just a few weeks now, that division will become operational with a $2.2 million budget, focusing on community engagement, crime-free housing, and behavioral health. It's but one of the 2020 initiatives that will lead to even more progress in 2021. And ladies and gentlemen, it really aligns itself with our ambition to reaffirm a city where our families, our businesses, and our culture prosper in an environment in which all people are treated with dignity and respect and equity. I want to acknowledge the special cooperation between our police department and Chief Tom Phillips of the University Police. They're but two of the many city and NIU departments that realize that we can attain so much more by working together for the good of our community. Now, you've undoubtedly heard me talk about the great momentum that we have going for us here in DeKalb. The obvious reason is the tremendous strides we've seen this past year in economic development. This morning's Zoom has been focused on collaboration, and there's been no greater testament to that than what has happened to bring Ferrara Candy and Facebook to DeKalb. This not only occurred shortly after preliminary overtures from these companies took place, but DeKalb had our development table pretty well set several years ago. Now, you may recall that when Toyota Mazda was eyeing the area on our community's southern boundary, that we realized that we really needed a playbook of sorts that explained why DeKalb County was in fact the place to be. It was that experience, working closely with NIU, Kishwaukee College, the DeKalb Economic Development Corporation, and others in the region, where an effective strategy was considerably strengthened. The result laid the foundation that would eventually result in these 2020 economic successes. Folks, it took hard work, months of deliberations, often with corporate site selectors that were identified with code names, monikers like Project Hammer or Project Donkey or Ventus. Through it all, the city of DeKalb sent a consistent message to these companies. We have a region, a county, a land developer, and a community that wants you here. And let's not forget the fact that the state of Illinois, specifically Representatives Kiker and Demmer, how they provided their help. And we have partners like our utility companies, our water reclamation district, our county board, and yes, our educational institutions like Northern Illinois University. Ultimately, it would be revealed that it was world-class. Let me repeat, world-class companies, Ferrara and Facebook, that announced they would locate in DeKalb, Illinois. You know, what's happening now on Gerler Road is a 1.3 billion, that's billion with a B, that's a $1.3 billion investment in our community. Now, those are major bucks. But let's not forget about the investments that continue to be made in downtown DeKalb, in areas along Sycamore Road. You know, pardon the pun, but the cornerstone of much of this happening could very well be linked back to Pappas Development's cornerstone project at First and Lincoln Highway. Now, I know there are opponents to tax increment financing, I'll admit, but what this city has done in utilizing TIF in the right way has added significant punch to the economic momentum that's happening right now. During the past year, we've seen Plaza DeKalb take shape at the corner of 2nd and Lincoln, Agora Tower at 4th Street and Locust, soon to develop in the old Mooney property, the opening of Hilton's Home 2 Suites on Annie Glidden, the Isaac Suites on the southwest corner of Route 23 in Oakland, the opening of the repurposed properties that now house Aldi's and new construction on Pizza Hut on West Lincoln, Raising Cane's Chicken on Sycamore Road. You know, these are but a few examples of growth right here in our community. Added to the excitement is this year's move of City Hall, where I am right now, to what I call classic character in this old First National Bank building. Next spring, we look forward to a new Johann DeKalb Suites 3-building development where our former municipal building withstood the 52-year test of time. You know, we're pleased to see that NIU will be looking westward as plans turn into reality for the Northern Illinois Center for Community Sustainability. This, coupled with the growth of our DeKalb County Community Gardens organization, along with the recently announced Syngenta facility near Malta, these all serve to enhance our region's emphasis on the commercial power of renewable energy as we meet the challenges of feeding our population and effectively managing our natural resources. Now, prior to turning the podium over to President Freeman, I'd like to extend thanks for our many nonprofit partners who continue to be so instrumental in collaborating with us, to our public and private schools that have suffered so much in managing the throes of this pandemic, and to the first responders and the healthcare providers throughout our community who continue to show up for work each and every day. We cannot express our appreciation nearly enough. Again, I appreciate your willingness to let us dwell today on our morning's big three: COVID, social justice, and economic growth. With that, thank you to NIU and its leader, Lisa Freeman, for sharing our community in so many ways. I know we're all richer for it. Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jerry. The stories that you've shared demonstrate the essence of our community. NIU and DeKalb are partners. We combine our expertise, energy, and resources to confront challenges and achieve mutual goals. In many ways, our individual success depends on our shared success. I want to thank you for your partnership and your support of NIU, not only during your term as mayor of DeKalb, but for decades before that. You are a Husky through and through. From your days as a student journalist with the Northern Star to your many years as a generous alum. As you and Ging transition to your well-earned retirement, we are grateful for the many contributions you have made to your community and your alma mater. We have always known that DeKalb and NIU are at our best when we come together. Over the past several months, we have seen the truth in this sentiment many times over. I join Mayor Smith in expressing condolences and sorrow for the losses of life and livelihood. But even as I do that, I see the ways that managing through the pandemic has required us to be collaborative, innovative, and resilient. I am filled with pride as I look around the university and the community and see what we have accomplished together in the face of the biggest public health challenge of our lifetimes. Protecting the pack is a team effort. The tremendous shifts that we've made at the university simply would not have been possible without the support of many people in the community. Our colleagues at the DeKalb County Health Department and Northwestern Medicine have been at our side from the beginning of the pandemic, helping us develop and implement countless processes to ensure the health and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff. We are grateful for their leadership and their unwavering dedication to the community. As has been said many times throughout this pandemic, the caregivers and support workers on the front lines are true heroes. As we have navigated the pandemic on campus, we have been keenly aware of the economic impact on DeKalb. We recognize the university's role as a regional economic engine and understand that our move to mostly remote operations has touched local businesses that count on a steady stream of customers who are NIU students, employees, and visitors. We've been intentional about keeping our purchasing close to home within the confines of state procurement rules. Mayor Smith mentioned DeKalb County Unites and its important work on behalf of the small business sector. Last spring, any time that I needed a bit of good news, I would ask for an update on Unites. It was always uplifting to hear about the creative and meaningful work the team was doing. Today, it puts a smile on my face when I hear the latest about Fortitude, a program that was created by Unites and developed with a new set of partners. Fortitude was designed to help local small businesses develop online commerce and improve their social media presence. The work is done by NIU students with guidance of College of Business faculty and marketing experts from OC Creative. Funding and additional support for the program have been provided by Jobs Plus, the NIU Foundation, and NIU's Division of Outreach, Engagement, and Regional Development. As the team began building Fortitude, they realized that small nonprofits in our area had similar needs for assistance. Cut off from their regular fundraising activities and faced with increasing demand for services, nonprofits need new ways to reach out to donors and identify other resources. So Fortitude Nonprofit was born. An NIU Center for Nonprofit and NGO Studies and the DeKalb County Nonprofit Partnership came on board to provide leadership and support. I can't wait to see what our students and their business and nonprofit clients create together. Like Unites, Fortitude represents the best type of engagement and collective impact. A group of dedicated people from the university and the community, creating solutions to local challenges, with talented students benefiting from experiential learning, mentorship, and employment. Talk about win-win. In a year full of challenges, our students continue to amaze me with their grit, hard work, and optimism. They are helping to lead the change they want to see. And this includes creating a more equitable and inclusive community where they can build their lives. It's hard, even heartbreaking work at times to do that. And in my perspective, what we witnessed this summer, the pain of men, women, and children of color across our nation and in our community, expressing how they don't feel heard, seen, or safe, shows just how much work we all need to do to create a truly inclusive university and community. I want you to know that NIU is committed to doing our part to work against prejudice and inequities on our campus. And we are pleased to see the work happening by the city, community, and business leaders to build an inclusive DeKalb. The amazing Belonging event held earlier this fall is a great example. If you weren't able to participate in the event that night, please go to the city's website and watch the recording of Dr. John Powell's remarks and the Q&A with members of our community. Dr. Powell has provided us with a shared language and helped point us in a direction that, with a lot of work by people who care, will help us create a community rooted in the idea of not just being welcoming to all, but one that truly embraces one another and fosters the feeling of belonging. That's the type of desirable community that attracts and retains students, employees, businesses, and resources. If we can achieve the goal of being a belonging community, imagine the impact on our daily lives and for generations to come. I believe we are up to the challenge. I also want to share with you today the progress we're making implementing NIU's 5-year strategic enrollment plan. We have taken a new approach to bringing students to NIU and ensuring their success while they're here. And I'm happy to report that our strategies are working. Total fall enrollment climbed to 16,769, driven by an 8% increase in freshmen and a 6% improvement in retention of first-year students. What are we doing differently? We are identifying potential Huskies earlier in their high school careers, communicating with them more frequently, and raising our profile through more aggressive and targeted advertising. The Husky Pledge helped break down financial barriers, ensuring that qualified students whose families make less than $75,000 annually would have their tuition and fees covered by grants and scholarships. And we've also improved outreach right here at home. We were glad to welcome 110 new first-year students from DeKalb County this year, an increase of 43% over last year. We are proud of these enrollment gains and our tremendously talented and diverse student body. And our faculty and staff also continue to give us plenty of reasons to be proud. I'd like to share a few highlights with you. We achieved our highest level of sponsored research funding in 5 years, receiving 325 awards totaling $44 million. The NIU Foundation's traditional annual fundraising gala was transformed into a multi-day virtual event titled Thousands Strong. And this effort raised more than $2 million from alumni and friends. NIU was designated an engaged institution for the second time by the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, recognizing our excellent alignment of campus mission, culture, leadership, resources, and practices that support dynamic, noteworthy community engagement. And dozens of faculty members pivoted aspects of their research and artistry to issues surrounding COVID. By the way, if you are one of the hundreds of people who volunteered to help validate Dr. Beth Galliard's new COVID test during the pre-Thanksgiving drive-through testing on our campus, thank you. All of these accomplishments are noteworthy under the best of circumstances, But seeing how our Huskies are driving innovation, engagement, and excellence despite the incredible challenges of 2020 affirms not only do Huskies never quit, they rise to every occasion. COVID-19 will continue to present the university with myriad challenges in the weeks, months, and even years ahead. The impact to date has been staggering, but we remain fully committed to our mission, vision, and values, and importantly, to transforming lives through education. As NIU celebrates its 125th year, it is a time for reflection and celebration. I've appreciated hearing from alumni and community members who have taken the time to share their stories and memories. I always love the stories about ice skating on the lagoon, marriage proposals at the kissing bench, and the flash of recognition when a student stumbles on the subject that will become their life's work. I've also enjoyed hearing from people who came here to go to school at NIU, fell in love with DeKalb, and established their businesses and families here. In many ways, for 125 years, the university and the community have grown together. We are excited about the next steps for the Northern Illinois Center for Community Sustainability and other ideas emerging for development of our West Campus. We're creating linkages to the businesses that have recently been attracted to DeKalb County and helping to maximize the economic development impact of these wins. We're optimistic about the planning underway to revitalize neighborhoods around the university, eager to help. NIU and DeKalb will emerge stronger from this period of uncertainty, strong and united, providing once again that we are better together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, President Freeman, and thank you, Mayor Smith. In the year 2020, it's very easy to get caught up in all of the additional challenges and not take the time to celebrate all the great things that have happened. And not to say that we don't need to focus on the challenges, but we need to make sure we do appreciate all the great things. One of the things I know 2020 has done is really made people be innovative and adaptive in a very quick and different way than we've done in the past. And kudos to both the city and the university on some of the changes that you've made. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open up a question and answer session here. So if you have questions, go ahead and put it in the Q&A area. But I'm going to start with one that's going to be for both speakers. I'll start with you, Jerry, for the mayor to answer this question. Then I'll go over to President Freeman. How will the 2020 state budget affect future plans for the city services and NIU? Mayor Smith?
Good question. We continue to ask ourselves that. We will continue to look forward to, state assistance through this COVID scenario. We have been very, very fortunate that we've gotten a lot of the assistance that has been offered through the federal government, channeled through the state. I think as municipalities, we have learned that we can't always count on what we thought might be coming from Springfield. So as a result, we've really had to be more self-reliant, and the city of DeKalb has done that. We have, for the 2021 budget, crafted what we feel is not only a balanced budget, but one that makes sense and one that does not cut any extremely important city services. We've done that through a hard look at our personnel. We've done that with a very, very sincere working effort with our unions. We have taken a look at how we can restructure some of our bonding, and through this all, we're going to go into 2021, Matt, with a budget that is not only balanced, but that still gives us that 25% reserve that is so important to the city of DeKalb. So that's a long-winded answer, I guess, to your question regarding the state. But we feel that as the city of DeKalb, We will continue to look for state, federal assistance from grants, wherever, but we also realize that we have to keep our own house in order and our own financial condition to do that effectively for the citizens of the city.
Matt, in the current fiscal year, we have certainly been impacted by the increased expenses and the decreased revenues associated with COVID. And that has resulted in us taking a series of actions such as pay cuts for senior administrators and coaches, a hiring chill, reduced discretionary spending, and even some layoffs. But in terms of Springfield, we have largely been spared cuts in the current fiscal year. But even though the current administration in Springfield views higher education as an investment, it's clear that the impact of the pandemic on state government and state finances will be passed down to us in fiscal 21. As we prepare for fiscal 21, we do it amidst great uncertainty, because the question of federal relief to universities as well as to state and municipal governments is one that we continue to hope will be answered soon, but we haven't seen that answer yet. Certainly, we will feel the impacts of COVID as we move forward in fiscal 21. Some of those will be the negative financial impacts, but some of those will also be the positive lessons learned about how we can do things more efficiently, with less paper, with less effort, with less transactional expense, and we'll be looking to incorporate some of those lessons into our future fiscal plans.
Thank you to both on that. The next question is for you, Dr. Freeman, and they'd like to know, what is the timeline for business developments on West Campus and what businesses are in the planning?
That's a great question. But we are really in what I would almost call, if West Campus was a building, we'd be in the pre-design phase. We are talking to multiple stakeholders of the university about what they would like to see on West Campus. And our goal is to make sure that what goes there in terms of business or nonprofit or academic buildings will maximize relationships as resources and help NIU students and faculty and the city and county advance their goals in alignment with mission, vision, and values. We've had one brainstorming session with some of our internal stakeholders and a few more scheduled this week, and look for more in the near future. It's an exciting time. And I will say that the city of DeKalb and the DeKalb County Economic Development Corporations are great partners as we think about that type of development. We really are creating synergy and opportunity together.
Thank you. The next question, Mayor Smith, is for you. And there's a couple of questions similar, so I'm going to kind of ask them together and let you cover what you think is appropriate. But what are the projections for growth in Park 88 and development southeast of Route 38 and Peace Road? And then along the same lines, what's the greatest asset to the city with the new development of Facebook and Ferrara?
Again, a great two-pronged question, Matt. Let me see if I can give you a two-pronged answer. First of all, our prospects for Park 88, I think, are only enhanced by the fact that just south of Park 88, which for those who may not know where Park 88 is, it's there along Fairview and Peace Road, just off the tollway interchange. But the fact that Facebook and Ferrara now just south of that area continues to grow, I think will mean that Mark Good and his company at Park 88 will continue to look at some of the vacant plot availabilities they have. While I am not able to give you any specific answer in terms of specific industries or businesses, we continue to talk to folks. And as I had indicated in my earlier remarks, so much of this is dependent on some early conversations with companies. And what we try to do and we were so successful in this with Ferrara and Facebook. Uh, we want to project the image that working with partners, many of whom Elisa just mentioned, we want you to be here. We want clean, dependable businesses that provide a good workforce availability for our folks here. So Park 88 will continue to grow and fill up. The question regarding Facebook and Ferrara, we have more land out there, Jerry Krasinski and DeKalb West Business Park. And I can tell you definitively, without revealing any specific names, that we have folks that continue to look at that now based on what they've seen along Gerler Road, along Facebook and Ferrara Candy Company property. So what is happening in Park 88, what is happening in Ferrara in Facebook and in the DeKalb West Business Park, believe me, it's the catalyst for even more good things to happen. So as I like to say about our momentum, just stay tuned.
It's great to see, and I know that having those successes brings other people's curiosity about, well, oh, why are they going to DeKalb, and we should take a look there too. So that's exciting to see. Next question is for both. President Freeman, I'm going to let you go first this time. How do you anticipate a transition from the current COVID mode back to what was previously the normal way of doing things?
You know, I don't think we're ever going to go back exactly to the way we were pre-COVID. Some people like to talk about a new normal. I like to talk about a next normal. And I think we on the NIU campus are already thinking about all of the things that we learned about ourselves as the result of the pandemic response, the ways we can be more flexible and nimble, the things we learned about what works to support our students and our community. We are already in the process of incorporating those things into our multi-year plans. And so I don't think we will ever again look exactly the way we looked, but we're certainly looking to some things going back to the way they were. And that means more in-person classes. It means double occupancy, full occupancy in our residence halls, and being able to walk downtown and eat in the local eating establishments. Those are the things that we miss that we want to see come back. But, you know, one of the questions I get a lot, Matt, is what has COVID-19 and going to remote learning taught you about the difference between online and in-person education? And, you know, even before the pandemic, there were people saying everything's going to go online. There will be no need for residential universities. And I think we've learned a lot about what we'll keep and what we won't. There are students who really like the flexibility of mixing online classes with face-to-face classes, even as they're living in DeKalb or in our residence halls. It lets them work. It lets them control their own schedules. We know that some classes work better online and some classes don't work well at all online, and that's been reinforced. Labs and performance classes don't go well by Zoom or Teams. And then I think that we're going to see people really thinking differently about the experience of residing on campus. We've always thought of that in terms of being incorporated into the campus activities and connecting to the community. But I think now we also realize how important it is for students to have a space of their own to learn and study and contemplate and connect. And COVID has really shown us that.
Thank you. And Mayor Smith, your thoughts on that?
Well, Lisa alluded to the fact of being able to come downtown and go to a restaurant and eat inside. I think that certainly comes to mind immediately. COVID has changed the way we do so many things. And, you know, we all talk about the getting back to normal. I think all of us look forward to the time when we are not in fear of gathering with friends and our family. We want to see our businesses open. So, I look forward to a revitalization, if you will, of so much of what we were used to before COVID hit in March of 2020. Um, we talked about DeKalb County Unites and how effective it was at getting businesses and folks together. And one of the words that was used was pivot. And I think some of our businesses, though, especially those who were successful early on, did a good job of pivoting, saying, hey, we cannot entertain a full complement of folks in our restaurant, but we can do a better job of providing takeout, of providing delivery, of doing some of those things. So I admire and are in awe of so many of our small businesses that have in fact pivoted. I'd be remiss if I didn't say I really look forward, Lisa, to coming back on campus and going to Husky football games and going to basketball games, et cetera. I think those of us who have followed the Huskies and followed the Barbs and followed all the other area teams, we want to get back outside. We want to get in stadiums. We want to enjoy that side of things. So, I am one of just millions of folks across this country who look forward to getting back to normal whenever that is. My best guess now is it's probably spring, from what I take from the medical experts, is that even though we're going to have a rollout of vaccine, it's going to be very, very likely that not everybody's going to have that vaccine available until probably the second quarter of 2021.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. The next question kind of follows up on that, and I'll actually start with the answer for this one. But how can people contribute to some of the community needs related to COVID? Are there some priority areas that you see that to help people into the recovery mode? And I'm going to start with that to basically say, obviously, we focused on Shop Local. We've got our Winter Bash 2020 countdown, which is focusing on that to support your local. I always say it's the personality, the identity of our community as a small business, and to support them during this time. I also will, just like the mayor mentioned, is compliment our small businesses on how quickly they've adapted and changed to make this thing happen, and how great our community's been to support this. But we have to continue to do this because that finish line's not here yet, but it's at least in sight. So are there any other areas that community needs related to COVID that you can see that people could help for? That's what they're looking for. I'll start with President Freeman.
Matt, one of the things that I find so inspiring about being the university in this community is that when we ask the community for help and support, we see it, and we see it tens of times over what we're asking. I talked about Thousand Strong and the great support we got from the Husky family and our immediate community to help us raise $2 million and to help us offset some of the lost revenue from the things the mayor talked about, like the canceled athletic events and arts performances and conferences. And I talked about a number of areas where our students and the community are coming together, whether it's Unites or it's Opportunity DeKalb, seeing our faculty and students from CGS and the College of Business and the not-for-profit program really working together. Every time those connections are made, they really help all of us grow. They increase the chance that our students will choose to stay here and start their businesses and raise their families here. And so as we've seen that increased level of participation and mentorship and engagement during the pandemic, let's make sure we don't stop that, but that we continue to grow it when the pandemic goes. And I guess the other thing I'd say is our international students have really benefited from community outreach. We've been able to work with local restaurants to set up coupon programs to help them have something special for when they're here and most of their college students are home. And we've had all the folks who usually invite our international students into their homes who can't do that as easily anymore, find other ways to continue to support them. So I would just say to the community, thank you. Thank you for recognizing us as your university and a valued partner. And the more you connect and support our students and our faculty, the better off we'll all be.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Your thoughts on it?
You know, I think the engagement piece that Lisa just alluded to is so important. And, you know, one of the pluses of doing so much virtual now has been the fact that we've expanded the viability of folks getting together on things like Zoom and on Teams. You know, lifelong learning at Northern, which is made up of folks who are senior citizens. They've embraced this idea, for example, of Zoom and of virtual learning. So I think the engagement piece allows us the capability to engage more folks and let people get involved in their community. One of the things that we should all do is to help one another. Remember our neighbor. Remember those who are on the fringe in our community. I have to commend Dan Kenny and the DeKalb County Community Gardens for its effort to provide mobile food distribution systems. And I know NIU and the city and DeKalb County Community Gardens, along with some potential federal assistance, we're working very, very hard to address this food desert phenomenon in our own community right here in DeKalb. You know, right now, the radio station here in DeKalb, Terry Ryan is doing something called Freeman for Food, where he's accepting donations for canned goods and other goods to be given to the Salvation Army. We have the DeKalb County Community Gardens. The Community Foundation just did Giving Tuesday, which is another event like Give DeKalb County, which I think is coming up in May. So let's take care of our neighbor. And I can't, as a senior citizen myself, let's continue to look in on those senior citizens in our neighborhood, those folks who have been unable to get out and do grocery shopping or whatever. So let's think about helping one another. And we have a community rich in social services. And we should, on our own individual basis, try to be as supportive of our neighbors as we possibly can.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. I think you both have touched on this, but I want to give a chance for each of you to answer this question as kind of our last question for today. But what is probably one great thing that's come out of the changes of 2020? Obviously, there's been a lot of challenges, but we talked about how quickly we've adapted, how quickly we've changed and added different programming and ways of doing things. What's one great thing that's come out of 2020 in having to adapt and change in this quick of a time frame? President Freeman, I'll let you go first.
Matt, I've always been fond of saying that relationships are resources. And I think most people see that at some level. But the way we've had to come together, to pivot, to support one another, to show grace at times when some of us are struggling more than others emotionally as well as financially, I think we've recognized across the university and across our larger community how important relationships are as resources. And if we continue to remember that as we emerge on the other side, we will be unstoppable together.
Thank you. Mayor Smith, your thoughts on that? What's one great thing out of 2020?
Yeah, I think the one thing that has enabled us to pivot, if you will, is the fact that through technology, we've been able to not only embellish what we have going for us, but we have the technological advantage of reaching out to folks who, with whom we had not perhaps had a relationship before. I'd also be remiss in saying that this relationship building transcends into the entire arena of social justice. We as a community, I'm just so proud of the city of DeKalb for taking a look at how we treat one another, and the fact that we need to embrace the idea of social equity, of respect, of dignity for one another. And as we reorganize, for example, our police department, to which I alluded in my earlier remarks, I think that's an indication that we as a city, we as a community, say we are in fact all in this together. And so I think that is just one of the many things that has come out of the remarkable year that we'll look back at and say, wow, can you remember 2020? Woo.
Yes, it has been a unique year, and so being involved with a lot of state conversations during this time to try to do things kind of working together, it reminds me of how well DeKalb is doing in areas. Looking back a long time ago, Frank Roberts used to always use let me tell you about a town. And if we took the name off of it and you started to say we have a university that has increasing freshman enrollment, we have a new downtown, a bunch of downtown housing that's being developed. We have two major data center and a candy company coming to town. We've got a variety of new restaurants and new businesses that have started during a pandemic and are being supported by our community. If you start putting the story together and you put it that way without the DeKalb tag on it, you don't realize exactly all the great things that are happening. So it's really exciting to try to talk about this. And I know it's hard to put COVID aside and all the challenges that are taking place on it, but you have to look ahead and realize that, we can work through this together, that there can be some great things on the other end. So with that, I want to give each of you a chance for any parting thoughts and give you a chance to wrap things up. President Freeman, I'll let you go ahead with your parting thoughts first.
Thank you, Matt. I think it's all been said. We have a great future beyond COVID. And to get there, we need to make sure that we have a lot of grace and perseverance for the next couple of months, which will continue to challenge us. We're in a year like no other. We're approaching a holiday season that will be like few before, if any, in our memory. And I want to wish everybody the peace and opportunity to, however you enjoy this holiday season, to be thankful for what you have, to reach out to those you love, to listen to those you may not have heard before. And if you need to do that virtually versus in person, consider it an unusual opportunity that you won't need to employ next holidays, but please be safe. Find peace, and happy holidays. And I always have to say, go Huskies.
Thank you, President Freeman. Mayor Smith, any parting thoughts?
Lisa mentioned about the students who have over the years come to Northern and decided that they liked DeKalb so much that they wanted to stay here. I was a 17-year-old in 1861. It would be 60 years ago that I first came to Northern from Dixon, Illinois. And outside of a couple of years that I spent courtesy of the United States Army, DeKalb has been my home. I met my wife here. She is a Northern grad. Our son went to school here. He's a Northern grad. So we've really had a house full of Huskies, if you will, over the years. As I transition out of being mayor of the city of DeKalb over the next several months, this is just one of the many chapters in my life that I can look back at and not only be proud of, but I'm just so blessed to have had the experiences of being in a community that is so giving, so thoughtful, so engaged. And part and parcel of that, of course, is the fact that we do live in that college town, that we do have Northern Illinois University here. So as a proud alum, as a proud mayor, I echo Lisa's thoughts. Happy holidays, everyone. And those 3 words out of the NIU fight song: forward, together, forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Thank you, President Freeman. And thank you all for attending the 11th Annual DeKalb Chamber State of the City. We thank our sponsors again, First Midwest Bank and Northwestern Medicine. Also want to remind you that it is the holiday season, and tomorrow Santa is driving through town. We have lights on Lincoln and Santa drives through town 6:30 tomorrow night. So again, we're continuing to do things. We're doing them differently, but we're continuing to celebrate like the president said, as well as the mayor. Do so safely this holiday season. Wear your mask, social distance, do what you can to stay safely so that we can make 2020 a great year and rewards from what we did this year. So thank you for your time, and thank you everybody for attending, and have a great rest of the day.